When Dave Clark wrote a book about his misspent youth as a criminal, he intended to warn people against crime. But after penning his autobiography, the 65-year-old former Fareham College electronics lecturer decided that to reach more people, he needed to change format. So he teamed up with a former student band and has now turned it into a punk opera, which gets its world premiere at King's Theatre Southsea next month. The book, Converted on LSD, tells the tale of Dave's life growing up and committing crime in Aylesbury before he moved to Fareham in 1988, and was written after his criminal brother Michael, 2.5 years elder, also converted. Even a year locked away in Dover Borstal in 1967 did not make Dave stop his life of crime, and it was only what he describes as a bad trip on LSD whilst watching the film Easy Rider in 1970 that changed his life. He claims that moment God saved him, and that key moment forms the focal point of his book and is the central plank of the opera Borstal Boy, which is at King's Theatre on Saturday, April 26th. As we chat in the box at the theatre, Dave looks around the grand old place and says, "I really can't believe that we're getting the chance to put on our punk opera in this wonderful building. Having the chance to put it on here really gives my life story mainstream credibility." He adds, "The stories in my book are suitable to punk. There's a strong message in the story of hope and deliverance, and that life can end well. Even though I'm involved in crime, I want good to come out of it. I want to teach people not to mock religion either. Look how many people benefit from it. I'm only telling the story because I want good to come out of it. I'm not doing it to tell of my life because it's rubbish. There's no benefit in crime. There's no glory. And you end up in jail with a criminal record, and once you have that record, it's with you for the rest of your life." Looking back at the moment which changed his life and has led to the opera, Dave says, "I gave LSD to 4 of my friends and we went to see Easy Rider at the Old Odeon in Aylesbury. I got the horrors and paranoia and I was frightened of killing myself. I cried out, 'Jesus, please help me.' At that moment, peace came upon me and I heard his voice speak to me, saying, 'I'm with you, Dave. You've been searching for a long time.' I turned my life around that night, and the writer hopes that seeing the actors perform his story will appeal to a wider audience." He continued, "There are ways for people to turn their lives round, but they need some help. I realise that people simply don't read books because they're not a quick fix. I didn't know how to get the story out, but then decided that the way to do it was to turn it into a punk rock opera. After the 1970 conversion, it took Dave a year to work up the courage to admit to the police to a 3-year career of undetected crime and handed himself over to the police. But when he appeared before Aylesbury Magistrates Court to confess the details of the 24 crimes, the local newspaper ran the headline, "Converted on LSD Trip," and reported the details of his multiple crimes for which he was not sentenced. It is the coverage of that court case which gives the book its title, along with 12 classic moments in his journey from crime to conversion to preacher that he has selected for the opera. In addition to his conversion and subsequent confession, he includes the time when he stole several cars, speedboat engines, garage equipment, road trailers, compressors, and a 24 by 48-foot garage shed. And the refusal of the former Fareham College lecturer to write a foreword to his book. And with the help of a former student, the 13-part punk opera has taken shape. Originally, both Dave and the band had planned to take tracks from punk bands and perform these covers. But last year, Dave sat down with the band and carefully chose the 13th part of his life for the story. Dave says punk in itself is a means of communication, and it's underrated. So I look at it really like a punk machine, like a stage where we perform, like a platform or a pulpit, and we'll teach through the music. It's the means of expressing emotion, a means of release. You're pent up and screwed up, but punk is a means of expressing that. After the premiere of Borstal Boy at King's Theatre, Dave Clark hopes it will be performed in the prisons around the country. After his conversion, Dave became a preacher and all but lost touch with his brother Michael. And in 1995, he heard in a news bulletin
from ITN News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
that Michael had been arrested in the Philippines for a crime which he never did. And not wanting to give up on his brother, Dave travelled to the Philippines and helped his jailed sibling have his own religious awakening. The pair then told their stories to hundreds of inmates in the Philippines, and they wrote their book, Trojan Warriors, which has been distributed in prisons worldwide. He says, "My brother died of TB the year before his release. The only consolation for me is that he, too, had turned from crime to Christ and turned his life round." Press release. The debut performance of Borstal Boy at King's Theatre was cancelled, or rather postponed, due to production problems. Please send us an email so we can inform you when and where it will be shown. And join our Facebook group called Borstal Boy Mod Musical to be involved, to be kept informed, and to share your ideas.